Hey everyone, welcome back to Daily Devotions. Pastor Steve here walking with you in God's Word. We're in Judges chapter 18. Once again, just kind of concluding this narrative of the community of Israel, the allotment of Israel, the settlement of Israel, and what that looks like for the many years as they're just beginning their inhabitants in the promised land. And again, they do evil on the eyes of the Lord, and then they have peace. And then they again do evil eyes in the eyes of the Lord, and then they have peace. But then throughout the land, they're just trying to figure out really their allotment. They have the allotment of what Joshua said is this is where you should settle, but there's battles going on, or there's unsettlement that they haven't totally stepped towards their promised land. And that's what we have in Judges chapter 18. One of the tribes, Dan, had this allotment of land as Joshua put them into this allotment land, but they battled against the Philistines. They battled against these other nations in their allotment west in the promised land, and they have not overtaken that land. And so with that background, Dan is saying, we need a land to live in. We need the allotment. We need to raise our families. We need to be the people that we need to be in a certain land that we can call our own. And so they go and find that rather than actually defeat the nations that are in their allotment. And so once again, we get to see this distraction. We get to see this distance. We get to see this awayness again from God and His promises, His allotment, His ways. I'm just going to find my own ways. And when they find their own ways, there always comes about selfishness. There's always comes about self-centeredness. It always comes about ways of crafting and making things your own that aren't going to take you into the future with having God present, with having God, without having God foresight in His ways for your people. Judges chapter 18, we can see the Danites. They settle in Laish. And so it stills the thunder a little bit, but it's a whole narrative of how they get to that place. In those days, Israel had no king. And in those days, the tribe of the Danites was seeking a place of their own where they might settle because they had not yet come into an inheritance among the tribes of Israel. So the Danites sent 5 warriors from Zorah and Eshtaol to spy out the land and explore it. These men represented all their clans. They told them, "Go, explore the land." The men entered the hill country of Ephraim and came to the house of Micah, where they spent the night. Micah comes back into the picture, hospitable, must be a tourist spot. It seems that Micah is bringing these people into his home. And when they were near Micah's house, they recognized the voice of the young Levite. So they turned in there and asked him, "Who brought you here? What are you doing in this place, and why are you here?" They recognize a voice, maybe an accent, maybe some type of descriptive reality in his voice to know that he was from the south rather than from the north. We get to have that understanding of he was that Levite from Benjamin, but he traveled up north. This is quite a ways north. This is 100 miles as we're coming from the south up to the north, up to Micah's house. And so as we get to have that, they said, what are you doing here? And he told them what Micah had done for him and said, "He has hired me and I am his priest." Then they said to him, "Please inquire of God to learn whether our journey will be successful." The priest answered them, "Go in peace. Your journey has the Lord's approval." And so we get to see this awareness from God again. A Levite that's in Micah's house that's having this worship and has these cast idols, having idolatry, and now asked to be able to actually be in the realm, be in the power of actually being an oracle, being a direction from the Lord. And he uses the Lord's name in vain, to be honest with you, because he didn't really call upon him. He just said, "I want to please you people that are in front of me." Your journey is going to have the Lord's approval, and that's what they needed. They had the spies, and they're going to head back to Dan and back into the clan and saying, "Hey, we've been given the oracle that the Lord is with us, that we're actually going to be successful. Let us go take the land." What land? Verse 7, "So the 5 men left and came to Laish, where they saw that the people were living in safety like the Sidonians, unsuspecting and secure. And since their land lacked nothing, they were prosperous. Also, they lived a long way from the Sidonians and had no relationship with anyone else. When they returned to Zorah and Eshtaol, their brothers asked them, "How did you find things?" They answered, "Come on, let's attack. Let's attack them. We have seen that the land is very good. Aren't you going to do something? Don't hesitate to go there and take it over. When you get there, you'll find an unsuspecting people and a spacious land that God has put into your hands, a land that lacks nothing whatever." And so as they go back and have this report, they say that they're unsuspecting people. And so the people of Laish aren't in relationships with the nations around. They're actually just safety and secure. They haven't had to inquire the Sidonians, actually the ones who are going to have the might of military, because they just haven't had the quarrel in their land from the other nations. They've been able to settle there, prosper there, and be able to live there. And so as the Danites see that, they said, an unsuspecting people, kind of people that aren't going to know that we're going to come in and take it over, because they haven't had that history. Then 600 men from the clan of the Danites, armed for battle, set out from Zorah and Eshtaol. On their way, they set up camp near Kiriath Jearim in Judah. This is why the place west of Kiriath Jearim is called Mahaneh Dan to this day. From there, they went on to the hill country of Ephraim and came to Micah's house. Then the 5 men who had spied out the land of Laish said to their brothers, "Do you know that one of these houses has an ephod, other household gods, a carved image and cast idol? Now you know what to do." So they turned in there, went to the house of the young Levite at Micah's place, and greeted him. The 600 Danites, armed for battle, stood at the entrance to the gate. The 5 men who had spied out the land went inside and took the carved image, the ephod, the other household gods, and the cast idol, while the priests and the 600 armed men stood at the entrance to the gate. When these men went into Micah's house and took the carved image, the ephod, the other household gods, and the cast idol, the priest said to them, "What are you doing?" They answered him, "Be quiet. Don't say a word. Come with us and be our father and priest. Isn't it better that you serve a tribe and clan in Israel as priest rather than just one man's household?" Then the priest was glad. He took the ephod, the other household gods, and the carved image and went along with the people. Micah gave him a contract that he couldn't refuse, but now he's actually climbing the ladder, this Levite from Benjamin, and being able to now be a priest of a clan. How much better can you get? And all of a sudden he's just not called by God, but called by his own selfish motives. Takes the things of the house of Micah and then goes with the people. This is a kind of a hard image to see, but this is how they actually went into battle sometimes. Verse 21, putting their little children, their livestock, and their possessions in front of them, they turned away and left. They were ready for battle. They had a cushion in front of them. It's just hard to understand. When they had gone some distance from Micah's house, the men who lived near Micah were called together and overtook the Danites. As they shouted after them, the Danites turned and said to Micah, "What's the matter with you that you called out your men to fight?" He replied, "You took the gods I made and my priests and went away. What else do I have? How can you ask, what's the matter with you?" And you see the deprivation of Micah's faith, household, and life and purpose. The gods that even can't protect themselves from being taken is now something he's clinging to and being able to fight for. The Danites answered, "Don't argue with us, or some hot-tempered men will attack you, and you and your family will lose your lives." So the Danites went their way, and Micah, seeing that they were too strong for him, turned around and went back home. Then they took what Micah had made and his priests and went on to Laish against a peaceful and unsuspecting people. They attacked them with the sword and burned down their city. There was no one to rescue them because they lived a long way from Sidon and had no relationship with anyone else. The city was in a valley near Beth Rehob. The Danites rebuilt the city and settled there. They named it Dan, after their forefather Dan, who was born to Israel though the city used to be called Laish. There the Danites set up for themselves the idols, and Jonathan, son of Gershom, the son of Moses, and his sons were priests for the tribe of Dan until the time of the captivity of the land. They continued to use the idols Micah had made all the time the house of God was in Shiloh. So not getting too detailed with it because you can see that coming into their future. But here they've settled in the north, and now they're actually going to, with their idols, with their carved images, actually set up a temple, set up a house of God with this priest that they've beckoned to come with them, and being able to actually set up a place of worship. This is Dan now in the north. And you get to see into the future, still the thunder of what's going to happen into the future. These people have devoted themselves into this temple up north rather than going and journeying to what God had placed in the temple in Jerusalem. And within this time, later into the future here, they're going to become idolatrous. They're going to be overtaken by the Assyrians because they have not followed the ways of the Lord. You see the beginnings. Just a little bit of distraction, awayness from God. Gets you self-centered, settles you in to your comfort, to the place that is what you want, rather than what is God's. Let us not follow the ways of our self-centered hearts, but rather let us follow the ways of Spirit-led God's vision for us to be able to be in His kingdom and work in His kingdom, and may His will be done. Have a blessed day.